Welcome again to our pastor's chat. I have Dan Oswald with us today.
Hello, everyone.
He is one of the elders here at Calvary. And Dan, how many years have you been here at Calvary?
Approximately 25. Just to confirm that, if you ask Gene Paris how long he's been here, well, we started here at about the same time he and his family did.
That's really neat. My first interaction with Calvary was 2007. So this is when I first met Calvary as an intern, and met Dan Oswald actually within the youth group. So we were just talking about that a couple of days ago. Well, we have Dan on here today to talk and help us understand a lot that's going on with our capital campaign, all tied in with our building project. And we recently have been showing you a lot of photos of the building being taken apart and getting you excited about what's going on. And as we are ready for the summer or the spring, whenever it's finished, to see what the North X will look like. But today we wanted to talk a little bit more about the finances together, as Dan Oswald has been the person behind the scenes dealing with collecting information for the banks, helping the elders to understand everything with the finances, speaking with Steve Behrens and Jody Renning about the finances, and also figuring out what was the best path forward for Calvary Bible Fellowship Church with everything. So, and Dan, I think it's really neat just how the Lord has put you here to be able to serve in this way.
It's amazing how things happen in our lives and we don't always know why. Experiences that we have that prepare us for something in the future. Our accounting firm, I'm a partner in an accounting firm, we just went through a building project several years ago, and we took an old building and we transformed it into an office. And there were a lot of questions, a lot of variables, a lot of uncertainty, but we learned a lot through that process and able to use that in interacting with the building team here to accomplish this project.
Yeah, and I just am always so amazed how the Lord just gifts us all in different ways, like you said, and we can serve Him here. And especially as we love our body, Calvary Bible Fellowship Church, our particular church, that it's just neat to be able to see how you serve in this way and how you help us. And I was thinking about this earlier today and laughing that, man, this is something I would have never been able to handle. I budget my own stuff in my own household, but that's about as good as I am with it. So very thankful for people that serve, and thank you, Dan, for this. And I hope you enjoy, as we'll talk about the finances later, but we wanted to start to help us understand what a capital campaign is a little bit more. Some people know, but there's been a lot of questions. So Dan, can you tell us about a capital campaign?
Yeah, and I guess the question is, how does that differ from a fundraising effort? Capital campaign is a fundraising effort. Maybe it's a fancy name for it. But a capital campaign is a comprehensive action or of the whole project. When we started, we didn't know exactly what we were going to do. We didn't know what the scope of it would be. And we needed to go through a process of determining what that would be. Originally, with the capital campaign, I was not one to use an outside manager.
Yeah.
And there may have other people that may have shared my thoughts. I was asked to head up a group to assess that situation, to see whether or not that made a lot of sense. And eventually, if it did, to then go out and find a capital campaign managing company.
Yeah, Dan, I remember you sharing that with me. What's it been now? About a year and a half, or is it only a year?
Well, the period where we met with, first one, we assessed whether we were going to use a capital campaign manager actually started well over 2 years ago. And then we started meeting with different companies and, getting proposals, getting to know them a little bit. And in deciding which one to use, we tried to use somebody who would come in, handle it in the right way, do a great presentation, have organization, and also speak the language of our people. Some of them, come from different parts of the country, and their approach is just slightly different than our people we felt would have been comfortable with.
Yeah, and it was really powerful to me when you had shared with me that you came into this going, I don't think I want to use one of these. And then later on, as you and I were talking, it was amazing just how the Lord had just, as you were praying, as you were looking into it, that you felt that that was the best path forward for our church, and those that you were working with as well. And that's the next question here. Why was this the best path forward for Calvary?
Well, a couple of reasons. One was to coordinate the whole process here. Um, as we went through this originally, people had varying points of view of what to do, how much we were able to spend, and just different ideas. As we went through the process, um, we needed to determine what could we afford. Um, and that was really a part of the starting point. And going through a capital campaign where we present the information, we get the input from the congregation as to what they think are the priorities, and eventually it culminates with a process where we ask people to uh, pledge what they're willing to put forth to accomplish this. And without that number, uh, we wouldn't know with any level of confidence what we would be able to afford. So we took that number, we took what the needs were, we took what people pretty much agreed to do, again, the priorities, and we moved forward with monies that we had available. Uh, Again, the pledges, anticipation of what the project was going to cost, and then went through the further process to get to the point where we are today.
So Dan, you keep mentioning a pledge. Now, those that were involved with this whole process and got it explained to them in detail, they may still they probably understand it. I made my pledges as well. I'm sure you did as well. But what does that mean when you're saying the pledges? What is a pledge, and how does that work?
What's interesting, each of us has a different situation in our lives. Some of us are younger, some of us are older, some of us have jobs where we're earning more or less money than others, uh, size of our family, all the things that go into it. So certainly a younger couple or family with children probably has less of an ability to fund as much as somebody maybe more experienced would be in their life where maybe their children would have graduated from college, or maybe even somebody who's retired who has been able to put money aside. So what each person needed to do was to assess uh, their desire for the project, their enthusiasm, and really had to speak and in a case where there's a husband and wife, speak to each other and come to a conclusion. I know that my wife and I weren't on the same page at the beginning. We eventually worked through to come to amount that we were willing to commit.
You know, Dan, you just said that you're like, my wife and I weren't on the same page. In my house, it was really neat that I had a number in my head about what we could afford as a family. And it was amazing that as Alana and I were spiritually guided from the capital campaign and listened to the information and got excited about it, my wife came and said, you know, I really think we should give more than what we already are doing so that we can take this practice that they're saying that we can trust the Lord in our own lives as we give. And I just it was neat. That process was really cool. And even for me, I was the youth pastor at that point, and I was teaching classes to the students that was curriculum given to us by the whole capital campaign, which I thought that was really cool. And it was very spiritual and biblically sound. It was a blessing to be able to share with students about, you know, managing their money and being good stewards of what the Lord has given you, to serve the Lord better, to follow Christ. It was great. So just wanted to mention that when you said that, I connected with that. Alana and I were like the same thing. I thought we were on the same page. We get together and she's like, I want to give more. I was like, all right.
Well, and that's interesting at going through that process there because to give more to the capital campaign or to the building project, certainly an easy thing to do would be to reduce the amount you're giving on a regular basis towards the church operating budget. If we do that, if we all would decide to do that, we would not be able to have enough to operate the church. So it's really giving above and beyond our tithe or the amount that we're currently giving.
So Dan, there were many different ways to make a pledge. I remember for myself, I think I did 3 years is what was best for my family. But I thought it'd be good to bring that up. Like, how does a pledge work, and what were the different options?
Okay. And again, there's different ways to do it. Most people will give cash, and then it's a question over what period of time. And the period of time that we have is 3 years, starting from October 1st, 2019, and ending September 30th of 2022. So some people have pledged to give an amount on a monthly basis for that period of time. Others quarterly, some annually. Some people outside of cash, gave stock, an investment, appreciated securities, where we were given the stock, and then we would be able to sell that, turn that into cash. So again, various different ways of doing it.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention that I do know some people even said that, they pledged an amount, but additionally said, I can also help with, I own a business that I own this such and such a business that I can give these materials for such and such or help with different things. People gave in many different ways, from saying, I can give my time, my company can help with this. I just thought that was neat too. So,
Yeah, again, we have a lot of gifted people within the church. A lot going on behind the scenes that we're not even aware of,
right.
to accomplish a lot of things, but certainly also with this project.
Well, we were speaking about the pledges, and talking about how they worked. We said that we want to now share with you the details of the finances. So what we're actually going to do, the video is going to cut here for a second, and Dan and I are going to jump on a Zoom meeting to show you everything that's going on with the finances and where we're at with the finances, where we're at with the pledges, and the whole scope of the project financially. Is that right, Dan?
That sounds great.
All right. So we'll see you in a second.
Well, everyone, we are back. We just said we were going to transition over to Zoom because we think the best way for you to be able to see all the finances that are going on with the capital campaign and the building project is to be able to put them in front of you and for you to see them and engage them. So what's going to happen is I'm going to share my screen in a minute, and Dan is going to walk us through the finances. So I'm going to pass it over to Dan, and he can let me know what he wants up on the screen, and we'll go from there. It's all you, Dan.
Excellent. Well, here we go. We're going to start with the schedule of the costing of the project, everything that we intend to do, and then we will see also where the funding is going to come from. So this is scheduled. It's called the source of and use of funds schedule. This is used in accounting circumstances with banks. When a bank is looking at something, financing, they want to know where the money's coming from, in addition to the money that they're lending to you, where it's coming from and how it's being spent. And then as the money's dispersed by the bank, they would want to see how the money, that the money's being spent properly and falling into what was projected. So at the bottom is the use of funds. That's the cost of what we plan to do. And at the top is source of funds. We're going to start with the use of funds first. The building project budget, including main roof replacement, that's the number that was presented back in June when we had the congregational meeting on Zoom, 2,255,155. And the next line is what amount has been spent to date. We just received the first bill from the contractor today, and that's going to go through a process of the building committee looking at it to make sure that everything makes sense, and then that'll be paid. And that first bill is slightly under 100,000. Next item, estimated interest during the construction period until the pledges are funded. We're in the middle of the construction project now, so we're going to be paying for the construction over the course of the next several months. Yet, as we mentioned earlier, the capital campaign started in October of 2019 and will continue until September of 2022. So the funding of the capital campaign will take place during construction. Some of it has happened before construction, but a decent amount of it will probably happen after construction. So we would have spent the money. We're therefore going to have to draw on the bank construction loan, and that's the estimated interest given a certain time frame.
Okay, and I'm saying, so that number is not here yet. Is that what you're trying to
explain? Well, yeah, the 67,156. Yes, sorry.
Okay, right there. All right.
Yeah.
So that's the estimated interest during construction period until pledge.
Yes.
Great.
Next item is Fairmont Property Preschool. For a variety of reasons, including the fact that the preschool could not continue in the present space with the construction going on, it had been decided to relocate the preschool to the Fairmont property. Some work had been done, and that work's already been performed. That was self-performed, by the way. That's not part of the construction contract. That was done by various individuals in our church. We really applaud them. They made a great effort, therefore kept the costs down and did a wonderful job.
Yeah, they did. It's beautiful over there. We were in the building today, and it's amazing. So.
It is. The next one in North Building restrooms. This is a requirement. It's anticipated that this will get done sooner rather than later, but that work has not begun yet. I have received estimates from different people ranging anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 to get the work done. I've used $40,000 in this schedule.
Yeah. And when we're saying the North Building, so those that may not know the technical names of our buildings, the North Building has been traditionally where our youth have been meeting, and currently now Calvary Kids on a Sunday morning. But it's also our original church building. It's 150 years old. So, all right.
And anybody who's been there and attempted to use the restrooms recently know the need for this.
Yeah, I'll just share this really quick. My office used to be in the youth building, and whenever you needed to use the restroom, I used to time it when the heat would turn on, because if I didn't and it was in the middle of winter, it would be freezing cold in there. Anyways, going on.
The next line item is security and IT. Again, this is a guess based on some numbers that have been put together. And this is interesting because some of this stuff is actually happening as we go and being paid, some of it being paid out of the general fund. We just made a great transition with COVID here, where we went from everybody meeting in the sanctuary every Sunday to, for a period of time, everybody watching it from their homes. Mm-hmm. That was accomplished by, some money needed to be spent, some things need to be done. The team has done a great job with that. And now we're meeting in the fellowship hall, and that continues, and that will continue. And then there's security with various things that are happening throughout the whole church property.
Yes.
To get to the 2.2 million at the top, and to make it all doable, we had to decide what things could be deferred a little bit. And it was decided that the completion of the Calvary Kids classroom may or may not get done at this time. It would depend on how much money we have to spend. That's $80,000. And then the parking lot repaving, which we all know it's needed, and we would all like to see it done now, but that's something that can be done outside of the construction project at a later date. So that's, as of right now, the last item, $150,000.
Right. And I think that's a good point to chime in. The reason, so this 2.2 is when we had decided that we did not, as a church, that it was the wisest decision was to take no more than $500,000 of a loan out from the bank, correct?
So, that is correct. Yes.
Okay. And now, like we said, now if more as this building project goes on and as people capture the vision and get excited about what the Lord is doing, and more pledges are made down the road, these monies may show up eventually, and we'll be able to complete those things. They need to be completed somewhere down the road, but right now the wisest decision was to remove them from the current what we're doing right now. Correct?
Yes, and we have to remember that we're dealing with a time frame with the township based on
Yes.
changes to the building code many years ago, and it's been extended. But as of May 2021, any addition to the footprint of the building would have had to been substantially completed before that. So that's not the overriding concern here, but if we had an opportunity to expand the building, now would be the time to do it. After we analyzed this, found that there was really a great need on the front of the building. And I think we've all seen the pictures, what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And it's truly exciting.
Yes, it is. I'm very excited. It's neat to see it coming along so well. All right. Do you want me to,
we can go up to the top?
All right. Let's
into the source of funds. So how are we going to pay for this? Okay. Capital campaign fund balance. This is the balance at the end of October, $568,674. This is monies that we had that were existing before the capital campaign started, monies that have been added to it as we've received contributions towards the capital campaign, some insurance monies. It's interesting, we're talking about a capital campaign manager. The first meeting we had with this fellow's name was Bob Etner at our church was May of 2019. And in May of 2019, as we were meeting with Bob, there was a hailstorm, and anybody who lives in the Coopersburg area is well aware of that. Yeah. Probably ended up getting a new roof with insurance proceeds.
And some body work on their vehicles. Go on.
That's right. It's amazing. Depending on where you live, you had more damage than others.
Yes.
So we had the insurance adjuster come out. He looked at all the various buildings and assessed what damage there was, and total loss or total damage from everything was about $125,000. So we've received a chunk of that already, and that's included in the 568. And then there's a line item down a little bit on the schedule that shows what we have not yet received, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
So as monies are received for the capital campaign, that will go into this general campaign fund balance. I mean, this capital campaign fund balance, and then they will be used to pay the construction costs. General fund balance. For years, we had built up a bit of a war chest. And I know that on occasion, people would ask, why are we holding on to this money? And, you know, we knew that at some point in the future, we would have this project. And you always want to keep something, you know, in reserve just in case. But the number is well in excess of 500,000. Our general fund balance, this is the balance at the end of October. Okay, and there's been discussions by finance committee, discussions by the elders. And if right now we feel comfortable that we can probably use approximately 2/3 of that balance towards the construction project.
Which comes out to this number.
Yes, we would keep 1/3, about 180,000 in the general fund, just to make sure that we have that reserve that is necessary. The main roof and water damage insurance claims receivable. In addition to the hailstorm, we had a tropical storm come in early August. There was substantial water damage done the front end of the building, a lot of it in the lower level.
Yeah.
And what was interesting here, so a claim was filed. We did receive an amount of money, and we have some more that we're going to receive. The amount that we received so far was slightly less than 25,000. But the fact that this was an area of the building that we were going to be doing work on, that doesn't cause us not to be able to file a claim and get a payment, but it now gives us money towards renovation, you know, and repair that area. Just the same thing with the roof. The roof on the main building, we were going to be working on the front part of the building as a substantial part of it. So that damage, we're going to do the whole roof of the building, but it really comes in handy, and that helps us pay for, you know, what we were going to do.
Yeah. Very neat.
Next up. Oh, excuse me, Tim.
No, I was just going to say it was neat that a minor change that was made in the project after that that tropical storm was we realized that we needed a better system for getting the water out of our buildings. So part of that is they're going to put in the right systems to make sure this building doesn't flood anymore. So just wanted to mention that it was all, and these monies right here will help with that. So it's neat. Okay.
Well, and what Tim just said, based on the building committee, there are additional costs associated with that. So the money also is helping to pay for that.
Cool.
Okay, then amounts pledged for the building project. We talked before about the capital campaign. We talked about the pledges. The total amounts pledged as of October, I guess it was, of last year, 2019, was $1,346,948. As you can see, the amounts from the pledges would not be sufficient to do the project. The project would have been scaled back dramatically and not nearly as what is going to be done.
Yeah, you're saying that that's the number that if we only did off of the pledges given, we would be short by $529,066.
Well, actually, we'd be short if you go down a little bit down towards the bottom of the screen. If we wanted to do everything, if all we had was the 1346, go back down to the bottom of the use of funds schedule.
Oh, we would be short by 168,000. Is that what you're saying?
No, we would be short by over $1 million.
Oh, okay.
Total cost is $2.4 million. And we're raising from the capital campaign $1.3 million.
Yeah. So, quick note, and then we'll keep moving here, is that praise the Lord for the many years that, even before I've been here and a long time that this church has been putting funds aside for the future building project, but additionally that the church has been building up that general fund to be able to be where we're at. So, thanks, Dan.
And the patience to do that, because been on the finance committee for a long period of time. And we've always tried to keep the budget as realistic as possible, somewhat conservative. We haven't made huge increases because we had money in reserved or whatever. We haven't spent money on things that weren't necessary. There were some wants that were, paid for, but for for the most part, we've tried to be as conservative, and we're at a period now where we have to continue to do that.
Right. All right. Now
So
this 500,000.
yes, well, the next line item is the receipts for pledged amounts. Those are the amounts that we've received from the pledged amount so far, the 529. So that reduces the amount that's still outstanding from the pledges. The other one right above the 500, Tim?
Oh, right here. Sorry.
Right
Oh,
there.
man, okay. That's helpful. Sorry. So this $529,066 is the amount of money we have received from the pledges thus far.
Through October 31st. There's a percentage right next to it, 39.3%.
All right.
That's the amount of the total.
Thanks.
Now it's a 36-month period. We're through 13 months. 13 months is 35%, 36% of the total time frame. 39% is slightly more than that. Okay. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Right. And then we decided to borrow no more than 500,000. And it looks like as of right now, we're going to need the full 500,000. So there'll be a construction loan. The amount at one point will be more than 500,000. It'll be whatever it takes to complete the project. And then as the pledges are received, we will pay it down to that it's no more than 500,000, at which point that'll become a mortgage loan and will be paid over a period of 20 years. Hopefully we'll pay it off early, as we've done in the past when we've had projects. We're going to get a pretty nice interest rate. I think it's 3.31%. One of the benefits of doing the project during the times of COVID is that interest rates are very, very low at this point.
Yes. Yeah.
The payment there is lower, and the payment will be probably in the ballpark of about $3,000 a month or $36,000 a year.
Very neat.
Yeah. So we have 2.2 million hopefully to spend. We come down towards the bottom of the page again. We have $2.4 million in cost if we want to complete everything. So there's a shortfall there. We're going to fall, if everything falls into place, we're going to fall $168,000 short. Okay, what does that mean? The first thing it means is parking lot repaving, $150,000. We won't be able to do that currently, but we can probably get pretty close to completing the Calvary Kids classroom.
Okay. Right.
The last item down there, projected remaining balance in general fund. Remember that I said out of the 500 and some odd thousand of cash that we have in the general fund, we're going to use 2/3 of it towards the building project. This is the other 1/3.
That remains. Yep.
Okay, so depending on what that shortfall is, depending on how we are with offerings in our budget, and we're able to meet our budget for the next year or two, maybe we can use a little bit more of the general fund and complete a little bit more than we anticipated.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is my prayer is I want to see that beautiful parking lot paved and done, and that Calvary Kids classroom completed. So may the Lord continue to help us cast the vision for this project, and that more as people come to our church, that they would get excited about what we're doing here at Calvary as they give back to the Lord, as is what we find in His Word, and as they get involved with an awesome building project. So. You ready for PowerPoints?
We certainly are.
All right.
Now, we've had various people participate in this in many different ways. The building committee, the building expansion committee, the building expansion finance committee. We've had people swinging hammers and doing all the various different things. Not everybody has had an opportunity to be involved in all of those things, but where do we all fit in? How are we participating? We're participating by giving towards the capital campaign and the building fund. So the first graph that we're going to be looking at is the pledge giving, what we've received to date, and then what is still remaining. That orange line there is, if we take the 36-month period and we use that as a divisor for the total amount, the 1.3 million, that's the amount that we would have to receive on a monthly basis to eventually reach our goal. The first 3 months, and actually we used a different software program called Servant Keeper that stopped working after the end of the year, even before COVID. So we didn't have the details of when those monies were received. We knew what was received, but we didn't have the details of exactly when. So what we've done is taking the amounts received in those 3 months, significant amounts received right at the beginning. If
Yeah, I
you
see
recall,
that.
we had a first fruits Sunday at the sales, and people gave very generously at the beginning of the campaign. And then since then, those green bars show the amount received in every month since then. And we look at the thermometer to the right, we see what was given, the 529 number that we talked about before. Our goal, if we divide the total by 36 months, would be 486. And again, that's about 35% of the total, while we've received about 39% of the total. And what remains to be collected on the pledges is 817,000. Okay, so are we on schedule? Yes, it depends on how you look at it, but we're on schedule. One thing that I'd like to share with you, we're going to be using our cash first. Our cash is currently earning virtually zero. Interest rates are virtually zero at this point. So we're going to use our cash first. And then once we run out of the cash that's designated for the building project, we will start drawing on our construction loan with the bank. Low interest rate, only 3.31%, but it is interest. Okay, so if everybody waits until the end of the 3-year period to make their contributions, the church will incur more interest. Some people don't have the opportunity to fund sooner than they anticipated. Some of us do. The ones who can, it would be very helpful if we would choose, again, if we have the money sitting in an interest-bearing account, we're earning virtually nothing, but it would save the church quite a bit of money if we were able to fund our pledges sooner rather than later, so we don't have to have as much of a construction draw.
Gotcha. Thank you, Dan.
Sure.
All right.
We'll go to the next graph.
Yeah. All right. Let me see if I can get that up. All right. Let's see here. That right here.
The next graph isn't significantly different, but there are monies that have come in and continue to come in that have not been pledged. And that total amount, you can see there, if you look all the way over to the right in the thermometer.
That's the blue.
It's the blue part, yes, 26,568. When you combine that with the 529 pledges, you can see that, you know, we're on track again, hopefully to meet our goal. Our target for this period of time would have been 486, and we still have 817 to go for the outstanding pledges.
These charts are really helpful, Dan. I like this. Thank you. I guess I thank not just you, but Josh Wanger.
Yes, Josh actually is the one responsible. We've worked together. As you know, we've had so many people step up and work together.
Yeah.
Can't name all the people because I probably missed one or two, but
right.
Really a great team effort. Really appreciative, grateful. A lot of very gifted people. A lot of people who love Calvary, who just want to try to help this whole process work.
Yeah. Well, Dan, before we close our time, is there anything else that you would like to share with those listening today on our chat?
Well, one thing would be, some people might wonder, when COVID came about in the spring, should we have postponed the building program? Should we have stopped? Well, the elders considered that. That question was brought up. We talked about it. We had incurred quite a bit of cost. We did talk with the various people involved with the project, and there were potential pitfalls with doing that, and there were potential benefits with doing it. Low interest rates, maybe there would be some good deals on labor or whatever, because the contractors may not be as busy. Maybe some good deals, or maybe some bad deals on buying the products, the supplies and everything, because of a variety of things going on. Some people have been out of work and really been impacted negatively by the virus.
Yeah.
Other people may have done extremely well during this period of time. So we analyzed all that, and we thought, well, for the cost we've incurred, we're committed to that at this point. We're in the middle of it. It's a little bit of additional risk, but we decided that it's in our best interest to move ahead.
Yes, and it's a really exciting project, and these graphs have been extremely helpful, Dan. And as I look at that, as we see that there's a remaining 817,881 We, as people give their pledges, we pray we stay on target. And I'm also just trusting the Lord that He will bring us through this project, and that we would see it, get excited about it. And even all of us, those of us that are already involved in it, just sharing with those that we come in contact that might be new to Calvary about what Calvary is doing and what's happening here at Calvary Bible Fellowship Church. As our desire is to be followers of Jesus, that help others follow Jesus. And the one way that this NorthX is going to be a big part of just creating a wonderful area for community and for conversation, and for maybe connect group meetings, and also helping parents and new nursery, new top. There's so much into it. And if you want to see the building, if you're watching this video and you haven't got a tour of what is going to be, I'll post the video that I did with Jody Rennie that we walked through the images of the building after this video is ended. Well, thank you, Dan, for being on with us today.
Thank you, Tim. This was a pleasure spending time with you and talking about this.
Absolutely. I learned a lot, and I hope this was helpful to everyone else as well. All right, bye, everyone.